Hey everybody, and welcome to today's GamePlanU NextUP podcast, where student athletes talk about the issues that surround us and affect us today. My name is Clayton Brown. I am currently the captain of the track and field team here at the University of Florida, and my team is here, and I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Lexi.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexi. I'm a former Division I athlete here. I used to play lacrosse, and I am a sophomore.
Charlotte.
Hi everyone, my name is Charlotte. I'm a junior on the women's lacrosse team.
Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm a senior on the women's lacrosse team.
And last but not least, Donovan.
Hi everyone, my name is Donovan Steiner, and I'm a senior here at on the University of Florida football team.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about whether or not should student athletes be paid. So it's basically college athletes player compensation. And for the first question that we're gonna ask is just a general question: is should NCAA athletes be paid? And we're gonna start it off with Grace. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I personally do think athletes should be paid. I feel as though the NCAA and the school are making so much money off of athletes, and the athletes aren't receiving anything in return other than the experience, I guess you could say. So I do think that athletes should be paid ultimately.
All right, in my opinion, it's kind of a sketchy area. There's a lot of factors that are involved, and I still cannot personally decide if or if not we should be paid. But I think there should be some form of compensation. But I mean, as I said, it's a lot of gray areas and it's a lot of things to go over. What do you think, Lexi?
I honestly don't think that we should be paid. I remember doing a project on it last year, and I was looking more into how we would be paid. And the proposition is that we would be treated as government workers. So it would be coming right out of taxpayer dollars. And they would be paying for us to go to school, which we're already compensated by scholarships to go to school. So I don't think it should be coming out of taxpayer pockets. And also at a school like University of Florida, where we're bringing in millions of dollars in sports each year, yes, it makes sense maybe to be paid, but I think it would just create a bigger divide in between the bigger SEC, ACC schools and Patriot League and those that don't really have as much money to give athletes.
So what you're saying, Lexi, is that if we should be paid, it shouldn't come out of government taxes, but should come out of the NCAA pockets itself. I understand that. What do you have to say?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think, I'm sorry, you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just think it's so many problems around how we would get paid, but I do think we should get paid. Just looking at it, because college athletics is like $1 billion industry, and for none of us to be getting paid, it just seems odd. But when you look at how we would get paid, who gets paid more, because I know certain sports bring in more money than others, so would everyone be getting paid equal? I know it would be hard to organize the how we would get paid, but I do think there should be some sort of compensation.
Yeah, going off of that, Donovan, I was actually reading this article by Forbes that said that actually the revenue that the NCAA generates combined from men's basketball and men's football, basically less than 7% of that goes to the two sports and the athletes. And what I've found is that the entire NCAA and the athletic departments combined are basically developing into commercial enterprises. And athletes at the end of the day are committing over 40 hours a week to their sport. So it's basically a full-time job. And if we didn't have all that time that we were committing to our sport, we could be finding other ways to possibly be getting jobs where we could help, develop our future careers and do other things besides playing our sport and not getting compensated.
I think that's a really good point. So we're gonna go to the next question now. And the next question is, how should we be compensated? I know some of us kind of went into that and trying to figure out, but what are your thoughts, starting with Lexi?
So I think we should be able to get be sponsored by Nike or any other companies. So I think that we should be able to like be paid by outside companies, but not necessarily by the school itself. So I think we should be able to like profit off of our own brand, and maybe like say if we have like a YouTube channel or something, I think that we should be able to monetize that and get money through that, but not by the school itself.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I actually read an article that said some schools or some athletes are be able to pay it in 2022, but they cannot be paid by the school or the NCAA. They can only be paid by outside sponsorship. So I think that's something that they're getting into. And also they're saying when they're being paid by those outside sponsorship, they cannot wear anything that is owned by the school or the NCAA. What are your thoughts, Charlotte?
Yeah, going off of that, I think another avenue where athletic participants could be paid would be to possibly be able to sell their gear. And I think that would be a great avenue because like a lot of people out there would love to have exclusive gear with a number on it that was formerly worn by an athlete. And if the school can't pay us directly, then it would be a great way for us to become an entrepreneur and sell our own gear at the same time.
Oh, I understand that. What are your thoughts, Donovan?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Charlotte just said. If the school isn't paying us, I at least think it's a good start to allow athletes to be paid just off of their name or selling their gear and stuff like that. Because I mean, it's not like the school is having to come out of their pockets. It's just it's the athlete just has opportunity to make money from outside of the NCAA. So I think that's a good start.
But I think where that problem would be is for us to sell gear, the school and NCAA would say it's their property and it's their patent. So that's where it become legal issues if we try to sell their gear and they formally own our gear. So I think it's going to create a lot of problems right there. But if everybody come together and figure out a solution, I think we can go through it. But I think they would win because they would say, oh, they paid for our gear and they gave it to us. So they technically own it, even though it's our names on it.
And also going off of that, I still think
I think Donovan's out again.
One thing I'll say about the gear actually is that what's a shame to me is that every year we're given so much apparel, so much equipment, and then each year we're actually not really allowed to wear it because we have to stick with what's given to us that year. So, I mean, by the time I graduate, I'm going to have just a huge pile of things, and I think that's kind of wasteful if we aren't able to sell it.
I mean, if we were able to sell it, I think what their fear is that a lot of student athletes would take advantage of that, and just get the gear and just sell it. And then when time comes for them to use the gear, then they wouldn't have it. Because say, for instance, they give us a gear and we just take it and sell it. And then a meet or a game come around and they want us to wear that gear. Oh, we can say, oh, we don't have it. We already sold it, So I think that's where we have to put like some rules to relegate that if they were supposed to institute that. Donovan, I think you chipped out for a little bit, so I thought you were saying.
I'm sorry, I didn't even. Did y'all hear anything that I said?
No, we did not.
Oh, I was kind of just saying about the getting paid off your name and stuff, but that it would still probably be a great divide because there's people like Kyle Trask, who's the quarterback, and he's a big face of the Florida football program. So he would probably benefit a lot more than someone who is like the backup right tackle who no one probably knows. So. Still, I feel like just the name and image thing probably wouldn't affect that many student athletes.
Oh, I understand. Lexi?
Yeah, I agree. I like Kyle Trask would definitely get way more money than I would, but I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. I mean, he got to the place that he is, like he worked for it, and I think that he should be able to profit off of that, even if there is a big price disparity between like how he's compensated.
Okay. And Grace?
Yeah, I think going off the name and image aspect of things, I feel as though that is a huge aspect of it, getting paid. I think, like you were saying, Kyle Trask and like other big players, like basketball has so many fans, football has so many fans, and they would definitely make a lot of money off of their name and image or whatever. And then Also, going off of the sponsorship aspect, I do feel sponsorships would be a huge way for athletes to get paid as
Yeah,
well.
and on top of that, I think another avenue is what Charlotte said is also if you have a YouTube channel. I know the NCAA right now prohibit us to like make money off YouTube. I mean, having a YouTube channel, I don't think it affects our sport or affects how we play or in any way affects the NCAA. I think they're trying to relegate every single aspect of us making money off who we are, and they're trying. I think that's why they don't want us to get paid off small avenues like that, which I think should
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, and another small avenue, like my roommate, he's like a big time gamer. So he streams on Twitch, and you can get subscribers and make money on that. But he's not able to. He just does it for free, pretty much, because he's not able to make money off that. And I feel like, that's just something that I don't see why he couldn't, profit off of that. It has nothing to do with him playing football. So
Yes, it has nothing to do with sports or the NCAA, but still, we
yeah.
can't legally make money off of it. I think that's where the problem lies with most people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the next question. If adopted, do you think all NCAA athletes should be paid equally? Why or why not? I'm going to start off with Charlotte this time.
I would say for me personally, I think that basketball and football do generate like the most fans, and they actually bring in more awareness to the school. It's basically like free marketing. And so I would say that those sports would honestly just have a more fair chance at getting the most compensation because women's lacrosse isn't as popular yet and it's still on the rise. But I think that because they are free marketing for the university, I think they should deserve the most compensation.
Yeah, but my problem with that now, what if, say, for instance, just because football and basketball is the most popular, but what if you have a 5-time NCAA champion in a different sport, but a football that player that's never even won an SEC championship is getting 5-6 times what they get? Do you think that is fair?
That's a point I was
Yeah, I
going to
don't
bring
think
up.
so.
Because some sports do very well for themselves, but ultimately I think it kind of has to go into who brings in the most money to the school, and I'm not really sure the specifics of which teams bring in the most money. I know gymnastics, basketball, football bring in a lot of money, but I'm not sure about like other sports who do necessarily much better than other teams in their conferences and in college athletics. So that's a tough thing to decide for sure.
Yeah, would
Yeah,
you
there's
think?
definitely pros and cons to each. Like, I can see both sides. The fact that football brings in so much more than like lacrosse, they should be paid more than us. But at the same time, if you were to do it proportionally by like how much money each sport brings in, you would have so many more players going to those top 10 schools because like Florida brings in so much more money than like Jacksonville. And so say a player was like, okay, deciding between the two. Now, if you're paying the Florida athletes significantly more, then they'd be more deterred from going to Jacksonville, So I feel like you'd start to see a really big cutoff between those top schools and some of the lower schools.
Yeah, and I think that's where the problem lies. I think it shouldn't be based off which sport makes the most money. I think it should be based off the individual and their accolades, like what that individual have done for the school. So it is when we play sports here, we don't play sports coming in and say, hey, we're trying to make the University of Florida the richest school out there. We come here saying we're trying to win championships and trying to better ourselves as athletes. So I think if you monetize just basically which sport brings the most money, their athletes gonna get paid the most, that's where the problem lies. I think it should be more of what athletes has more accolades and what they have done in their career, and that's how they should be paid.
Yeah, I didn't even think about like divvying it up that way, but that's a really good point. I can see like definitely the positives of doing that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either. I think the next step would be if you're choosing it by the individual, it'd be how do you measure that and how would you determine like how much that individual gets versus the other one, like does like for track, like does winning like the SEC for track, like is that different from like winning the SECs in volleyball? Yeah.
Grace?
Yeah, I think it's just a tough situation to kind of move around and move through in terms of who gets paid what and which teams get paid the most and which athletes get paid the most and which athletes get paid the less. But ultimately, I do think it would be okay for athletes to be not paid equally because of all the aspects that go into it of winning and who brings in the most money and all of that.
Yeah, and I think that's why the NCAA do not want to pay the student athletes right now, because they're trying to make every student athlete equally. In my eyes, I think that's what they're trying to do, and that's why they don't like really understand or want to pay student athletes, because then all these factors come into play. So I think that's why it's been holding off for so long of us not getting paid. So now we're going to move on to, oh, you got something to say, Donovan?
Yeah, I was just saying, so talking about how you were mentioning like the individual aspect, like paying the individuals. So if that were implemented, then do you think athletes should be able to like hire agents then? Because now it comes kind of like professional sports. Like, you know, if you look at an NFL team, the players make different amounts of money based off of, you know, their production and, you know, what they've done in the past. So it would kind of have to be like that for us now, right? Since if every individual is getting paid differently, how do you know how much you're getting paid? Like how do they come up with how much they pay each individual?
Yeah, I think it goes down to how much you're worth, and that's why like most professional athletes has agents to fight for them and fight for them to get the best contract. So I think that's where it will come in with us too. There we would have to have agents, and I don't think NCAA wants agents to be in us, because then these agents gonna take advantage of us. You know, we're young, we don't really know what's going on. So I think that's why they're trying to keep it out.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna move on to the next question. Do you think student athletes should be paid? Do you think student athletes' pay would impact their performance or college completion? Let's start with you, Donovan.
I would say yes and no. I feel like it depends on the individual and like what they're doing it for. If I'm just a person who plays sports just for the money, it would probably impact my performance. But if I'm just someone who just loves to play the game, I don't care how much I'm getting paid, it might impact my performance in a different way. And as for college completion, I feel like, well, in my sport specifically, I know, and in basketball, college completion, even not getting paid affects college completion, because, you know, people want to go to the NFL as fast as they can. And like I know for basketball, they can go one and done. So going to the NBA is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I understand why they do it. So even if I feel like we do get paid, I feel like it's not going to be like the NBA money. So I feel like basketball players this will still affect their college completion.
So what you're saying is basically if you start getting paid, they will still want to leave early and not finish college.
Yeah.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Charlotte?
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective. I didn't really think about how like with like the NBA and like the NFL, like regardless, athletes are trying to get to that next level and they're trying to play at the best of their game. But I think also at the end of the day, like all of us came here because we are passionate about our sport and money wasn't involved. We weren't getting paid to do this. So I think if money was a factor, then maybe for some people it would increase their drive and their performance and they'd be more willing to commit to their sport. But at the same time, I think without the money, we've all been really committed to our sports in the first place.
Okay, Alexi?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would have an impact on performance or college completion. Just like Donovan was saying, with the NBA, like the money wouldn't be anywhere near what they can offer you. So I think people would still want to move on to the next level in performance. Like both of you guys were saying, like we didn't come here for the money, we came here for the sports. So I don't think it would affect it.
Yeah, but in my thought, do you think it'll affect those people that come in and like, you know, a lot of people come in D1 and then they stop halfway because of either family problems or they're just not in love with the sport anymore. But do you think if you get paid, even though you lost that love for the sport and normally you would quit because it wouldn't affect you, but if you were getting paid, do you think they would still quit because they lost love or just continue because they wanted the money?
Well, yeah.
Honestly,
if you look at it,
sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
Well, yeah, if you look at it that way, because now that makes me think like a lot of people on my football team, they come from like low income areas, low income families and stuff like that. So if they weren't here on a football scholarship, they probably wouldn't be in college at all. So if they were to be getting paid right now, they could be, you know, sending money back to help their families out and stuff like that. So I think like when you look at it from that perspective, getting paid would definitely be a big benefit, and it would definitely affect their college completion, like you said.
Okay, and Lexi.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it would definitely, for people who are in that situation, be a big like motivator to stay in the sport. But like Donovan was saying, like getting a scholarship is kind of a way of compensation. So I think that if they were to be dependent on the money, then they would already like with how it is now stay with the sport. But I guess it really does depend like on a case to case basis. Because if they were getting paid, like you were saying, they could send money back home and help their families out. So it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, only a small percentage of Division I athletes actually make it to the pro. So I think the rest of those athletes would really, really benefit from being compensated. But the small percentage that know they're going to go to the NBA or the NFL and they're going to make way more money that they would make playing in college, they would be fine. But what about the large percentage of people that are not able to go there, and a lot of them can't really afford school, so they have to pick up like a second job while being a student athlete? Would them being paid really help their life? So I think it would help their performance, because they would want to basically, if, as we said, if we were compensated in how well we do, everybody would want to like try harder to be better because they want more money, you know. So I think it's a hit or miss kind of deal.
Yeah.
Grace?
Yeah, I think in terms of impacting performance, I think it could go both ways depending on the individual or athlete's personality. But ultimately, I don't think it would impact their performance because, I mean, personally, like, I feel like everyone coming to play Division I sports are pretty competitive in nature. So they want to be competitive and they want to play and they want to do well when they play. So no matter money or no money. So I think that wouldn't really impact performance as much. But also going back to what Donovan was saying about college completion, I think that it wouldn't really affect college completion because everyone like trying to go pro or whatever, it's so much more money going pro than I'm assuming you would make as a college athlete. So I think it wouldn't really change college completion of athletes leaving or staying in terms of going pro or not.
I understand. All right, so that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to GamePlanU. Click the subscribe button, as it said. And it was nice talking to you guys. I'll see you next week.